Hi guys, welcome to another Dragons podcast. First of all, let me get it out of the way. I apologize. I haven't made any videos recently. Been an incredibly busy time for myself, and just haven't had 10 to 15 minutes to sit down and make a video. So I do apologize. Hands up. However, we are back, and I'm going to try and bring you one video every single week moving forward. So let's crack on. And this is Sunday evening when I record this. Okay, so it is. It's it's the day of the women's last league game, and we'll touch on that in a little bit. But what a weekend for the club. There's been nearly 20,000 people in the racecourse this weekend over the two games. There was 10,160 odd, I think, yesterday. There was 9,500 there today. Absolutely amazing support for the boys and the girls. Great weekend. And as a fan, as owners, Rob and Ryan as owners, Phil and Steve Dale as the two respective managers of the men's and the women's sides, they can't ask for any more from us as fans. Let's touch on yesterday and the big one. If we are honest, and we can only really we can only really look at this, is how much of a difference Ben Foster made to the defence than if we'd played Mark Howard. And it's not a slight against Mark Howard. I'd say the same if Rob Layton was fit. Ben Foster showed that he is levels. Even now, after 9 months retired, 39 years old, he is levels above us. Just the calmness whenever he came to collect a ball. I think he had one where he flapped out, but it was given as a foul. And he had one save to make where he got down low. So he didn't have much to do apart from collect aerial balls, but he did it with such confidence and swagger that you could see the confidence then filter through to Ben Tozer, O'Connell, and Tunney in front of him. Tunnicliffe, again, what a game he had as well, by the way. He's been sensational lately. Really has. An absolute warrior to play on with the stitches in his head as well that he got a couple of weeks ago. Brilliant player. What I thought was good as well about Saturday's game is that we didn't rely on Paul Mullin. So there's a big thing when you look at Wrexham, the fact that Paul Mullin this year has scored 40 goals. And the same can be levelled at Notts County with Macaulay Langstaff having scored 39 league goals. That both sides are overly reliant on their two main strikers. They do have other players who've chipped in. Obviously, we've had Ollie Palmer, Sam Dolby, Aaron Hayden. But then there is the question, like yesterday, Ollie Palmer didn't turn up. He had a poor game yesterday, Ollie. He had one of those games where he just looked 2 yards off the pace. And when that happens, he gets frustrated as the game goes on. He starts losing his temper and he starts reacting. And he did it yesterday and he ended up getting booked and pulled off, and Dolby came on. So, these things do happen. And it was nice yesterday to be able to see that we don't rely on just Paul Mullin, and the other players will step up. Yes, there was an element of luck with the own goal, but I think that was earned because that effort by James Jones was sensational. I mean, 6 inches lower, and it's the goal of the weekend, if not, is one of the goals of the season. And then Sam Dolby's and Elliot Lee's late on. I mean, to finish with such calmness, a surety, really, he is an understated player. I think he's a flair player, and I think a lot of the little stuff he does goes unnoticed. Everybody notices when he scores from 30 yards or hits a 40-yard pass. It's the little bits he does in games that I think are quite vital that that people maybe don't appreciate as much. James Jones, again, is another that he's a workhorse. A bit like Luke Young. All the good stuff he does, nobody really notices because it kind of gets lost in among the game. And I do think that we maybe need to respect the players we have in a little bit more. I'm not saying we don't. As fans, I just think there is not one bad player in that squad. Not one bad player. Bill Parkinson's transfers this season have been sensational. He's turned rough diamonds into shiny diamonds. Some of James Jones, Luke Young, they were here under Keats. They're not new. They're not Parky signings. They were here under Keats, and he's turned them into players who can still go in our first team when we're signing League One players. That says a lot about them, and it says a lot about their desire to stay at this club. So Ryan Barnett again. What a game. I mean, he has not had a bad game since he came to the club, and he looks like the signing of the season for me because he has added a different element to our attacks. And it's an element we have so desperately needed that when we are struggling to break down teams with the flick on, he will get the ball and he will drive at his fullback and he will look to get to the byline. He will look to cross the ball in. There's a reason he has the most crosses in the division. There is a reason that other teams were annoyed when we went out and bought him. This is why. He was sensational, absolutely brilliant, and he really does deserve all of the credit in the world because he's just slotted into that role at right wing back with no issues. Defensively, I mean, the goal at Bromley, for example, but these things happen. Do you know what? These things happen. They're there to try us at the end of the day. Not everyone's going to be perfect all the time. But yeah, I think Saturday, really, really good result. We're still 4 points clear. Interesting. I think if my maths is right, it might be, and if it's right, it might be wrong because maths isn't my strong point. But if it is, please put it in the comment. I think if we win every game and we drop points against Notts County, which is a 50-50 game, then we are on course to win the game against Yeovil on the 18th. I might be wrong, but that date is it's hovering in my head, which would be amazing to win it before the end of the season. But we are not at that point yet. We have 7 cup finals left. 7 massive games where we have to turn up every single day. Not just the 11 players on the pitch. Not just Parky and Steve Parkin, and Dave Jones coaching them. Us, the fans, we have to turn up and we have to make some noise. And this Saturday against Oldham has to be massive. We have got to make it a cauldron. We've done it before. We did it against Chesterfield. And we have to make it like that again. Oldham, we all know what Oldham will do. They will come and they won't roll over. So we're going to have to play and we're going to have to play well. Thankfully, with Ben Foster in goal, it does give us a little bit more security. But 7 cup finals to go. It's not over the line yet and not one fan should be thinking it. And I know for an absolute fact, not one fan is thinking it either. Let's move on to the girls' game then, because that was today. And can I just say, first and foremost, it was so nice to see so many kids at the game because, the kids, the younger generations are the lifeblood of any football club. And for so long now, we have had a situation where the older generations have always supported their local, Wrexham, and the younger kids have gone and supported Man United, Liverpool, Chelsea, Everton, Chelsea when they were, winning titles under Mourinho, Everton, all the local big teams, and then you had your standard glory hunters who supported Chelsea and Arsenal. Now these young kids want to support Wrexham. It's cool to support Wrexham, and yes, there is a massive element of that is because of Ryan and Rob. There is a massive element of that because now we are successful. It wouldn't have been cool to go into school. It would have been cool to go into school. I'm a poet and I didn't know it. Anyway, it would have been cool to go into school on a Monday morning, having watched Wrexham lose to Boreham Wood a couple of years ago, for example, when your mates are all talking about Man United versus Liverpool and how good it was to watch. Now, I don't think that's the case. I think it's very different now, and I think that's really, really nice to see. There is, that is a massive change for me, and I love it. There were so many kids there today, and they are the lifeblood of our club because they are the future generations that will come and support us and buy the season tickets and buy the merchandise and buy the shirts that fund new transfers. And then when they grow up, they'll pass all that on to their kids, and it'll keep the club going for for generations to come. And that is so, so important. And I'm in a position now where I'm doing it with my stepdaughter, my youngest daughter. My eldest daughter comes to watch sometimes, and my youngest daughter, who's only one, in 4 or 5 years, I've got no doubt she'll be coming because it's what me and her sisters do. And now we're in a place where other people are able to do it. And it's not just people in Wrexham. Let's get this correct. It's not just people in Wrexham because of the fans in America that are traveling to us. The Canadian fans that are coming across to support us. They will do this as well. They'll pass this on to their children and so on and so on and so on. And the club will just continue to survive and grow and move forward. And I think that's amazing. But onto the game. Connah's Quay Nomads, deserve massive credit because they turned up today in what was a dead rubber. The league had already been won, and they turned up to really play. Some of their players were outstanding, and I don't know some of their names, and I do apologise. I'm just going to see if I can find out who they were. Let's have a look. Because there were some of them. Let's have a look. This is what you do when I record a video and I'm not overly prepared. Here we go. Connors Key Nomads, the ladies team. So, let's have a look. Number 22, Elena Harley. She was sensational, as was number, I think it was 20, Kirsty Hall. Kirsty Corral. She were, again, two very, very good players. There was a number 7 as well. Where is she? Tamara Hammer. God, they were so good. They really, really were. And, they deserve a lot of credit because they came and they gave it 100%. Fair play to them. The goalkeeper had a bit of a howler for the first one. The free kick is all of 28 yards out and gets done by let's have a look who it was, by TJ Dickens. But it was a really good free kick. I don't think she expected the shot, which probably sold it a little bit more than had she been, had it been on the edge of the area, because she was pretty comfortable with the other stuff throughout the afternoon. There was a corner which nearly went in from, I think Kim Dutton was taking the corners, and it nearly went in straight from the corner, and she clawed it off the line, which was a really good save under pressure because there were loads of Wrexham players around her. But overall, the girls' team were really impressive, and there is some real talent in that girls' team. Rosie Hughes. What can you say about Rosie Hughes? She was interviewed in the week. I saw it on social media, and she was asked what it's like to be the female Paul Mullin, and she said, "Go and ask him what it's like to be the male Rosie Hughes." And I just think that is sensational. That's winner's mentality. Absolutely brilliant. There wasn't anyone who really put a foot wrong. I want to give a special shout out as well to Erin Lovett, because she started at fullback and she looked a little bit unsure. Started at left back, and then in the second half she was at right back, and she just didn't look sure on either side. And then they moved her to the middle, and she was sensational in the middle. Nothing got past her. Once she kind of got got into the middle and got into the center of defense, she was a rock. And just play it there. Steve, don't put her at fullback next season, man. Just put her in the center of defense. She was brilliant at central defense. Special shout out goes to Amber Lightfoot as well. She had a really good game. Didn't stop running the entire match. Took a bit of a knock at the end of the game as well. Hopefully she's okay. But it's 12 out of 12. 12 wins out of 12 games for the ladies team. Rosie Hughes, 23 goals over the course of the season. Her winning goal, by the way, today, Paul Mullin would have been proud of. I mean, she didn't only just leave 2 defenders for dead, she completely rounded the keeper and left the keeper on her backside on the floor. Absolutely superb. Can't speak highly enough about them. And it was so nice that Robin Ryan flew in for this game. It was so nice that Blake Lively, who is such a supporter of the women's team, flew in for this game as well. They all deserve massive credit. It's a step up next season, no doubt about it. But the change, I think it's going to be semi-pro next season, I believe. So the change to that will obviously help, maybe attract a few new players. But there's not one player in that team, I don't think, that couldn't hold their own. Before I finish as well, just one thing to touch on about the weekend, about the ladies team, is Kim Dutton. I said to Casey, who comes to all the games with me, my youngest stepdaughter, I said, she reminds me of Luke Young. She's like, what do you mean? It's like, she's not flashy. She's just hard work. Is constantly chasing balls down, chasing players down, constantly in the face of the opposition. And it reminded me of Luke Young. It's what I go back to what I said before. It would have been so easy to not notice Kim Dutton for most of the game today, because everything she did is the dirty side of football. It's not the flashy, it's not the Rosie Hughes nutmegging a defender and getting a shot away. It's not, your Amber Lightfoot taking on the fullback and putting a cross in. It's the dirty stuff, the hounding players, the making them make mistakes. That is what she was doing. And Kim Dutton, I doff my cap to you, because you were sensational. You really, really were. So yeah, a great weekend for the club. Now it was a massive game on Saturday. We go again, and we will push hard. Notts County. Let's see who they're playing, and because that will obviously, I mean, if they drop any points, so they play Tuesday at Altrincham, and then they don't play next Saturday. So you know, that's the other thing. We'll know if they drop points Tuesday night. How big does Saturday's game become? It's absolutely massive. But Altrincham is, you know, it's they're 13th. They're not going to get relegated. They really haven't got much to play for. They can't. It'd be a tough ask to catch any of the playoff teams. And their form, you know, I mean, their form's all right, actually. They've won 2 of the last 3, but they have lost 3 of the last 5. So it depends how I want to spin their form, but they're not in great form. But, you know, Notts County have been a bit hit and miss. They've drawn 2 of the last 5 as well. So fingers crossed that Altrincham can get points off Notts County on Tuesday night. It'll be very interesting to watch it for sure. I'll be watching it. And yeah, keep an eye out for the next edition of this. And make sure you check out the Football Nation podcast as well, because I do the non-league or the lower league stuff on there. And there is always a big focus on Wrexham. And I've got a very special video coming up soon where we're going to have a Notts County fan and a Wrexham fan on together. Make sure you subscribe to the Football Nation podcast for that. I'll see you all soon, guys. Thanks for watching. Remember to hit subscribe and like so you don't miss out on any future podcasts. And I will see you all in the next one. Have a good one.
With a mighty army, Wrexham is the name.